Well, we're standing in front of some drain tile right now, some actually little pieces of drain tile that were left after we got done tiling this farm. And we get a lot of questions about IDC, Iron Deficiency Chlorosis. And what I always tell farmers is your ground tiled, and is it tiled really, really well?
Well, it is often the low spots where we see IDC areas out in fields. And basically what we're talking about is iron deficiency chlorosis in soybeans, where the soybeans, they aren't actually short of iron, but they're short of iron in the usable form. And what you'll see on the leaves is you'll see yellowing in between the veins on the leaves. So the veins on the leaves will be green and the tissue in between will be yellow. And what you'll see with soybeans is that part of the field will be really depressed and held down. Sometimes it'll even die in real serious situations. But later on in the season, when you get towards harvest, the rest of the field gets ready to go, and your IDC area now is green and healthy and trying to catch up. And it ends up being a disaster out in the field. It costs you every year that you have soybeans. And if you just say, well, okay, I'll have corn in there next year, it'll be fine. And then 2 years from now, I guess I'm just going to have 10% of that field I lose to IDC. What a waste. You're going to be farming only for, maybe 30 or 40 crops you're in control of, and you're going to let 10% of your soybean crop just be junk every year? This just seems crazy to me. Why not deal with those areas? Because it's basically the same areas of the field that pop up year after year after year. Why not take care of them?
Okay, let's talk about why we see this IDC. Like Darren said, it's not that there isn't iron in the soil, it's just not in the usable form. Here's why. You have high pH. A lot of times you also have high salt levels, and you may have high nitrate levels too. So why do you have those problems? Well, first of all, if you take care of your drainage issues, if you properly tile the field, and don't tell me, oh, I've already got tile out there, it's at 70-foot spacing or maybe 50-foot spacing. You know what? Maybe you need it at 20-foot spacing.
This is why you normally have heavier soils.
Right.
We see this much more commonly, like in Minnesota, for example, in some pretty heavy ground.
Yep, the problem can be solved if you just get enough tile in the ground. Well, anyway, if you do that, you should, over time, lower your pH levels. You also should lower your salt levels pretty quickly. I mean, that salt level is going to come down way faster than the pH level is going to come down. And the next thing is, on the nitrate side of things, just don't overdo it on nitrogen on your corn. Make sure that you're handling that side of things right, and a lot of times the issue can be minimized. Now, you may say, well, I'm not going to do all that. I'm just going to go out there and plant a different soybean variety. You know what? You can do that, but here's the thing. Now you only have a very small amount of varieties that will actually work on your farm. Whereas for me, now that I've got all my ground tiled and all my pH issues solved, I can choose from a wide variety of soybeans. Who do you think is going to get more yield? Well, I think since I can pick from any variety I want, it doesn't have to have IDC tolerance, I can probably get more yield. So you got to look at these things over the long term. Fix the cause of the problem, and everything else will fall into place.
Okay, so now we're blessed with this late harvest, late fall, and you say, wow, I just don't have time to get after it this fall. Don't worry about it, because just because it didn't work out perfectly for you doesn't mean you have to give up, because next spring is going to offer you another opportunity to deal with this issue, and even next summer. When you look at some of these IDC areas in the fields, they aren't producing crop right now. You can go right out into standing soybeans,
but even if they
do some tiling.
Even if they were producing crops, so what? We do most of our tiling in standing crop. I love it then. It's way more fun out there tiling when it's 70 or 80 degrees than it is when it's 10 degrees outside. I don't really like getting wet and working in water when it's that cold. So tiling in the summer is a great option. Now here's another thing. A lot of people are using a very available form of iron at a very high rate with their soybean planter. And you know what? That works pretty well. It's just you end up spending $15 or $20 an acre a lot of times to gain 6 or 8 or maybe 10 bushels. So you're going to put a lot of dollars out there, but you should get quite a few bushels back. We have seen a lot of farmers having good success with that. It's just a high investment, and it's a short-term fix. Again, we would suggest you fix the cause of the overall problem, and that's almost always poor drainage.
When it comes to our Weed of the Week, it may take a little bit more than improving the drainage to get it under control. We'll explain later in the show.